Hey everybody, it's Daniel. I went to an atheist convention this weekend. It was the first one I'd ever been to, and weirdly enough, one of the coolest people I met there was a Christian woman. All right, more about that in a second. Let's start the show. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God, there's just you and I. Welcome to There Is No God and We're All Gonna Die. This is my podcast. I'm a gay liberal atheist living in the Bible Belt, and this is my 4th episode. There is a fly buzzing around my head, so it's a little distracting. I apologize, but he is just another creature living his life. I'm going to let him live his life because I've been doing this weird thing lately where I've been trying to catch the flies and release them because I found out they were pollinators, and they're also really kind of cool, and so I feel weird killing them. So I'm going to let this fly live. That's me being spiritual right now. The spiritual atheist who's letting a fly live. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. So I went to this atheist convention. Okay, here's the weird thing. Get ready to have your mind blown. So, as you know, I've been recording this podcast. This is my 4th episode, so I'm still really new to the podcast game. And I was really scared to even start doing this podcast because living way out here in the middle of nowhere, and the fact that I called the podcast There Is No God, and, you know, I'm living around rednecks with gun racks and thinking that I might get killed for even having a podcast that has that in the title. It was a little nerve-wracking. And so, I don't know, after like my 2nd or 3rd episode, I was starting to get the hang of it. And then just last week, I don't know, maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, I got this email that a half an hour from my house, of all places, there was a huge atheist convention. You cannot make this stuff up. It's so weird that it happened when it did and where it did, because I was free. And so I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm going to go. I mean, I have to go. This is my audience. These are my people. And so, you know, I paid the admission price, and I drove my little atheist butt over there, and it was amazing. It was so incredible. It was so weird that it was happening so close to my house and that I had no idea about it, but I made these really quick business cards with like a QR code so people could like go listen to the podcast, and I literally printed them on, you know, that glossy photo paper, and so I was like printing out these really jacked up homemade business cards. So I kind of felt like this weirdo because I went there and there was all these really big, really established podcasters and stuff. But, you know, you all have to start somewhere. So I just kind of let that go. And honestly, it was really cool to be around a lot of people who completely understood what I meant when I say I'm an atheist, I'm not saying it to be mean to religious people. I'm saying it because that's just how I view the world. The idea of God watching over me never really made any sense. The idea that when I die, I'm going to go to this heaven never really made any sense to me. And so I'm just more comfortable thinking that this is all there is. And so I need to show up for every moment and make the most out of that moment. And that really is kind of what my atheism boils down to, making the most out of life because it's really the only thing that I know is real. So anyways, it was awesome meeting so many like-minded people. But the weird thing is, one of the coolest people there was this Christian lady. I'm going to actually tell you a little bit about her because honestly, I'm not going to be able to do her justice just talking about her. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read my Facebook post that I wrote this morning because I was so inspired by her speech. And yes, she is a Christian, but hear me out. It'll all make sense in a second when I read this letter. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so here's my Facebook status update from today. Hey, everybody. So I went to an atheist convention this weekend, around 400 people. To be around so many people who think like I do was refreshing, but surprisingly, one of the most powerful speakers was April Ajoy, a progressive Christian woman. Yes, you heard that correctly. She still believes in Jesus. My goal as an atheist has nothing to do with changing other people's beliefs, so although I don't believe in the God she believes in, I'm genuinely happy for her that she has those beliefs. And hearing her speak was eye-opening. For most of her life, she'd been the equivalent of a hardcore evangelical right-wing Christian nationalist, even protesting against things like gay rights and women's reproductive rights. A few years back, after some of these issues hit close to home, she denounced her hardcore evangelical roots and began embracing more liberal values. Her church disowned her. People she'd worshipped with for years said she was demonic, but she remained steadfast in opening her mind and opening her heart. In doing so, she realized she had more in common with liberals. We atheists tend to be very liberal, so she even realized she might have more in common with us. She also realized, even though she still believes in God, we all had a common enemy in the fascist facade that is MAGA Christian nationalism, which, by the way, has nothing to do with true Christianity. So I know what I'll be talking about in this next podcast, how atheists and open-minded believers can work together to take on a common foe. And the reality is, we have a common foe. This extreme version of MAGA Christian nationalism that's permeated our entire culture affects all of us, believers and non-believers alike. Unless we're all willing to work together to bring about change, we will fail. A wide net needs more people, not less. I was grateful my atheist community gave this woman and other progressive Christians who were there a warm and embracing welcome. I was also grateful I could give this woman a big hug, tell her about my podcast, which she seemed psyched to listen to, and let her know that my very best friend is also a progressive Christian. I may be an atheist, but I'm not a religious person hater. I love everyone. I love my friends who believe whatever they believe or don't believe. As she stated so eloquently in her speech, she realized a person's beliefs are not very important anymore. What matters are their values. I could not agree more. My job as an atheist who values things like equality, dignity, women's rights, transgender rights, LGBTQIA rights, racial equality, the environment, income equality, access to healthcare, education, science, and so much more that is under attack by this current administration, is to show up alongside people who share my values, like this liberal Christian woman and my liberal Christian best friend, so we can reach as many people on the other side of the aisle as possible. This includes reaching out to the misguided people still following Donald Trump as his corrupt, right-wing, Christian nationalist administration pulls our great country and the world into fascism. I can hate Donald Trump and his administration all I want, but hating all his followers solves nothing. If anything, I'm sad so many of them are operating on such shitty information from propaganda outlets like Fox News, PragerU, and Breitbart. My belief? The only way we'll ever win is to reach as many of these people as possible and change their hearts. Hardcore liberal atheists, such as myself, can't do this alone. We need to be part of a much larger and much more loving network. This includes progressive Christians like April and my friend Matt. It also includes open-minded Muslims, Buddhists, Wiccans, Native Americans. It includes people of all skin colors, of all faiths. It includes anyone who cares about the future of goodness. Because that's what's at stake, the future of goodness. I didn't mean for this Facebook status update to be so long. I guess I'm just happy knowing I'm not alone in my beliefs. And even if I don't believe in someone else's version of a God or an afterlife or a higher power, it's still possible for me to find beautiful common ground with them. So I'm grateful I had that opportunity. So anyways, that was my Facebook status update today. And yeah, I stand by all of that. There is so much at stake right now, and I think that seemed to be the general vibe of the whole conference. Everybody was there, and we were happy to be together, but I think we all realized that the fact that we didn't believe in God wasn't enough. There is so much at stake right now in America and in the world. We literally are under attack by this administration, and I will get to that in a second when I get to Asshole of the Week. But I just wanted to let you know that I went to this amazing event. It was incredible. Honestly, I feel like it changed my life, and I'm sure I'll be talking more about it in future podcasts and hopefully bringing some of the people I met there on because I want to start having live guests on this show. Anyways, on to top 10. Top 10 things I learned at NanaCon. That was the name of the convention, by the way. It was called NanaCon. Okay, anyways. Here are the top 10 things I learned at NanaCon, which is the name of the convention I went to. Thing number 1. Some of our greatest allies can be people of faith. I think I've already explained that in the reading of the Facebook post that I just said, but absolutely. I think that there are people across the board who believe in goodness, and I don't think that all people who believe in a higher power are, MAGA fascists. If anything, I think that MAGA is its own thing. It's like a cult, and it really has nothing to do. When I look at my friend Matt, who is my best friend in the whole world, and he is very much a progressive, liberal Christian, he is the polar opposite of what a MAGA Christian nationalist is. So for me to be like, oh, I'm going to hate all religious people because I'm an atheist would be horrible. No, I love everybody. And I love the fact that there's people who believe things I don't believe, but we can still have shared values. So absolutely, some of the greatest allies in our fight for democracy will be people of faith. And I'm grateful for that. So number 2, it's our job not to be dicks to like-minded people of faith. Absolutely. Just because I have a podcast that is called There Is No God and We're All Going to Die. My hope is that people of faith come and listen to this podcast and realize when I say there is no God, that's just my belief because I truly don't think there is a God, but that I am not trying to be insulting to the fact that they do believe in God. And I will be the first one to admit, I hope I'm wrong. God, if I'm wrong, that means I get to go to an afterlife and I get to have this special friend up in the sky. I've said it many times. I will probably say it every single episode. I hope I'm wrong. It would be awesome if I was, because then I get this bonus time flying around in the sky when I die. My brain doesn't work that way. So for now, for me at least, there is no God and we're all going to die. And when I die, it's lights out and my body will nourish worms. And hopefully I leave behind some goodness. I think we may live on in our deeds. So hopefully I may live on in good deeds that I've done. But, that's to be seen. Number 3, my beliefs are just a small part of my atheism. My values are what matters. Absolutely. That is totally across the board something that I learned going to this convention. That, it's cool that we all kind of didn't believe in a higher power. That's great. But that can only go so far. Like I've already said a couple times since I started recording this episode, there are much bigger fish to fry right now. There's Donald Trump. There's his administration. There's all the stuff they're trying to do. There's all the rights they're trying to take away. There's all the voting districts they're trying to redistrict so that they can win again and again and again because they can't play fair. There's so many things. There's women's reproductive rights. I'm not going to list off everything again because I already did, but you get the point. Just being an atheist and meeting a bunch of other atheists and commiserating with the fact that we don't believe in God, that would get boring really fast. So there has to be a reason why our like-mindedness brings us all together and brings in other people who may still believe in a higher power but have the same values as us. So yeah, the fact that I don't believe in God, that's just a small part of it. It's just like the tip of the iceberg. So let's see. Thing number 4. This is the 4th thing I learned at the Atheist Convention. Atheists are fucking fun. I swear to God. I saw a lady dancing around with a hula hoop that had flames coming out of it. I mean, I swear to God, atheists know how to have a good time. I'm just going to leave it there. But I had a blast meeting all these people. They were funny. They were fun. They were engaging. And, they were all into cool shit. They all had cool hobbies they were doing. And again, we had friggin' flame dancers. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. I can't wait to go to another one. Number 5, some of the nicest people I've ever met are at this atheist convention. And I think the reason why is because being an atheist, you're kind of an outcast. I know here in Tennessee, all my friends love me, even my religious friends, but I always kind of feel like the odd man out. Okay, now here's Daniel the atheist, talking about how he's an atheist and everybody else is saying, oh, have a blessed day and bless this and bless that and, God is good and all that stuff. And I don't want to take any of that away from them. But meanwhile, I'm like the guy who doesn't believe in any of it. And so I think other atheists kind of feel that way too. And so when we all get together, yeah, I think that it's refreshing and we just are so psyched to be with each other that we're just really friendly to each other. So that was really nice. Which kind of brings me to number 6. The other thing I learned going here was that the feelings I've been struggling with, being vulnerable, feeling guilty that I'm an atheist, feeling like I'm a bummer, feeling like I'm the odd man out, feeling like I'm a killjoy. It seems like those universally across the board, pretty much 95% of the atheists I talk to there, they've also struggled with those feelings, and they're feelings that they've been working through in their own journey. So it was pretty cool to hear about that. Number 7, the other thing I learned going to this convention was I think everybody, no matter who they are, and this includes atheists, are desperate for community. I think community is where we meet our people. I think community, whether it's the local bake sale or it's your recovery group or it's your church or it's a group of atheists at a convention or it's your bowling league or it's whatever, your book club. I think humans really like humans. It's one of my favorite quotes from Harold and Maude. Some of you young people may have not seen Harold and Maude, but it's an amazing movie from the early 70s starring Ruth Gordon and I think Bud Hackett. Anyways, so Harold, who's the younger guy, sees Maude, this older woman, and she's at this arcade and she's having a lot of fun with a bunch of people and she's just having a great time. And later on, he's like, "You're really wonderful with people." And she said, "Well, they're my species." And I always think about that because growing up, I was kind of like I was a goth teen and I was kind of like one of those goth kids from South Park. Like I was too cool for school and, sitting on the bleachers being like, "Oh my God, everybody's so stupid." But the reality is I crave communion with people. I do. I kind of feel like since I don't have a higher power, my higher power oftentimes is the sense of community I get from other people. And I don't think it's much different than the sense of community people express when they go to church. A lot of times that's what they're responding to. They're responding to the feeling of being around a bunch of other people who worship like they do and think like they do. And I get that. I think for atheists, we are also desperate for community and we don't have as much of it yet because it's still kind of edgy to be an atheist. It's not the feel good thing that being, like believing in God or something is. And so it was nice to be around that community. And number 8, this is kind of a hopeful thing. It looks like the community that I just described that seems to be lacking. It does also seem like it's starting to take shape. There was a lot of really cool things coming up in Nashville that I'm excited to go to. A lot of cool meetups, discussions, open mics, even like game nights, things like people seem genuinely excited to get together with other like-minded people. And honestly, a community can't happen unless we take part in it. So I'm very excited to take part in these events. I may actually be going to something this Thursday. It's actually going to be taking place at a very progressive church where atheists and progressive Christians get together and they discuss topics, which I think is really cool. So why wouldn't I want to go to that? That sounds very interesting to me. So I think I may check it out. All right. Number 9. This really isn't anything I learned at the whatever you want to call it, the big convention, the big godless convention. But this is just an observation. I made a ton of new friends, and you can probably tell from my smile, I'm very excited to build some friendships with these new people I met because some really friggin' cool people. I met these 2 guys from Austin. I met this other guy from North Carolina and his wife. I met a bunch of really cool podcasters. I met this woman, April, the Christian woman who became a liberal Christian. Just tons of cool people. And so I'm really looking forward to reaching out to all these people and having some of them come on this podcast and saying hello and talking about what it's like to be an atheist in their neck of the woods, or even what it's like to be a liberal Christian and how they're being treated by their former Christian community. I think all of that stuff is very interesting. So I'm looking forward to hopefully exploring more of that. And number 10, and this is the solemn thing I learned. This is the kind of serious part. We have a lot of work cut out for us. This is not a dress rehearsal. We have a lot of work cut out for us right now. The main vibe I got, besides the fact that it was refreshing and fun and that there was a lot of cool people, underneath it all, there was a very serious tone. The Trump administration and all of his cronies and all these focus on the family groups and all these right-wing Christian nationalist, extreme, alt-right, MAGA, fascist news organizations, all of these people organizing together, they are a mighty foe. I will give them that. It's fucking scary what they're doing. They are literally trampling all over our democracy. And the fact that we have 3.5 more years of this scares the flying fuck, not just out of me, but out of a lot of people. Pretty much everybody at that convention I went to seemed horrified by it, but even, people like the liberal Christians I talked to, and I'm sure people across the board from all different faiths who, like I said, believe in goodness and believe in fairness and believe in justice and kindness and empathy and compassion. Things that are now being demonized. Empathy is now being demonized by Christian nationalists. They're saying it's weak. They are literally saying Christian nationalists now who have Trump's ear. And Trump doesn't fucking believe in any of this bullshit. I mean, Trump believes in Trump. That's all he believes in. But enough about that for right now. These Christian nationalists, they actually look at something like empathy and they frown upon it. They think that by being empathetic, you are opening the door to sin, basically. You're opening the door to the woman who got pregnant out of wedlock, or the gay teenager, or the transgender child, or the immigrant who is illegal. Thinking even that people are illegal, viewing human beings as illegals. I mean, this is the mindset. So, yeah, we do have our work cut out for us, and nobody can do this alone. Atheists can't do it alone. Liberal Christians can't do it alone. Liberal Muslims can't do it alone. Liberal Jewish people can't do it alone. Regardless of what our faith is, if we all have the same values, we really need to work together and put our differences aside, because let me tell you, the right has a tendency to put their differences aside and mobilize and get shit done, and it's scary shit. So that was the bad thing, not the bad thing, the sobering thing I learned. Well, I didn't learn it. I've always known this, but it really was driven home talking to people about this pretty much all weekend long. So, okay, now it's time for one of my favorite things. I'm kind of a douchebag when I'm dealing with assholes. I'm kind of a douchebag when I'm dealing with assholes. I'm kind of a douchebag when I'm dealing with assholes. I'm kind of a douchebag when I'm dealing with assholes. Yeah. Okay, so the asshole of the week, once again, is Sir Donald himself, Donald fucking Trump. Yeah. So I'm going to read this article right here. This is from The Hill today. This is nice. It's not nice, actually. It's fucking horrible. Trump memo allows federal workers to persuade coworkers their religion is correct. This is not a joke, people. This actually is happening. This is fucking scary. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I was talking about in the last segment. The scary shit they're doing. Okay, so here it goes. The Trump administration released a memo Monday that aims to protect religious expression among federal workers, outlining that employees can attempt to persuade coworkers about why their religious beliefs are correct. I can't even fucking believe this, but hold on. The memo outlined conduct that should not result in disciplinary or a corrective action, including displaying in the office Bibles, religious artwork, jewelry, posters displaying religious messages, and other indicia, I don't know what that word is, of religion, such as crosses, crucifixes, and mezuzah. All right. It also said that one or more employees should be allowed to engage in individual or communal religious expressions, and that employees can engage in conversations on religious topics, including attempting to persuade others of the correctness of their own religious views. Okay, and it goes on to say a bunch of other bullshit about this. I just want to go to the very end. An employee may invite another to worship at her church despite belonging to a different faith. It also gave the example of a park ranger joining her tour group in prayer. And it says at the very end, the federal workforce should be a welcoming place for federal employees who practice religious faith. Allowing religious discrimination in the federal workplace violates the law. It also threatens to adversely impact recruitment and retention of highly qualified employees of faith, the memo said. Like, they can't just fucking go to work. Like, they gotta go to work and be all Jesus-y about it. That's the thing. If they're good at their fucking job, just go do your fucking job. You don't have to bring your fucking religion into it. Like, they wouldn't take a good paying job if they couldn't also try to save people's souls at the job. What a bunch of fucking bullshit. I swear to God. Anyways, it also said the memo, first reported on by Fox News Digital, of course, follows Trump's executive order on anti-Christian bias, which aims to protect Christians from religious discrimination. Yeah, like Christians are the ones being discriminated against. And I know I just talked about progressive Christians. This is not them. I guarantee you the progressive Christians that I just talked about, the liberal Christian woman at the Atheist convention or my best friend Matt, I guarantee you they are just as horrified by this as I am because it is so inappropriate on so many fucking levels. So here is me being a douchebag to Donald Trump about it. Are you ready? Donald, this is your gay, liberal, atheist friend, Daniel Cartier, who lives in the Bible Belt and has a fucking podcast. Donald, I can't fucking believe you even are attempting to do this. This is so wrong on so many levels. Okay, so like some poor employee who just wants to go do their fucking job. Just do their fucking job. Now they have to deal with some douchebag being like, hey, did you know that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior? And by the way, my way of thinking is correct. Like, people don't have enough to do already when they go to work without dealing with that bullshit. That is so fucking wrong on so many levels. And nobody should ever have to be put in that situation anyways, because also what it's going to do, it's going to make the employee who doesn't believe the same way the Jesus person believes, it's going to make them feel really weird. It's going to make them feel really kind of cornered. And instead of creating a harmonious environment, it's going to create a very toxic environment because I guarantee you, giving permission to some of these friggin' Christian nationalist people who worship you to go into their federal workplace and start trying to save people's souls and bring them over to, you know, whatever they think, it's just opening up this huge can of worms. Not to mention the fact that you are basically guaranteeing there's going to be a ton of lawsuits, which is going to clog up our court system and basically result in a bunch of legal fees and a bunch of bullshit and a bunch of like the federal government having to pay out legal fees. This is so stupid on so many levels and so wrong and so unnecessary. That's the other thing. It's so unnecessary. Why would anybody need to go into their place of work where they should just be doing their fucking job and saving their coworker's soul or telling their coworker, hey, I know you're Muslim, but my God is correct. How is that appropriate? Because I'm not just thinking about me as an atheist. I'm thinking about the Muslim person. I'm thinking about the Buddhist person. I'm thinking about the Native American person. I'm thinking about the Wiccan. I'm thinking about the Hindu person. I'm thinking about all the friggin' religions somebody could possibly be. Going in to do their friggin' job and then dealing with somebody basically confronting them and saying that they don't have the right religion or like that they need to have religion, like in the case of me being an atheist. I know that if I was a federal worker and I went into my job to do my job and then somebody was like, oh, well, by the way, you know, my way of thinking is better than yours, I would just be like, you know what? Go fuck yourself. Take your religion and go fuck yourself. And I would probably go talk to my supervisor and I guess what? They would say, oh, well, Bob can legally tell you that his religion's better now because of this memo from Donald Trump. So yeah, it's totally fucked up and totally unnecessary. And go fuck yourself with this. Again, I know I'm always telling you to go fuck yourself, but I can't even stress it how much I mean at this time. Seriously, take this fucking memo and take this whole fucking initiative and seriously go fuck yourself. I will say this. I hope there's a bunch of Satanists who work for the federal government. I mean, I don't believe in Satan. I don't believe in any of it. But I hope for your sake, there's a ton of Satanists who work for the federal government because if there are, and any Satanists are listening right now, please pentagram the fuck out of your office. Bring fucking black candles in and pentagrams and a fucking goat's head. I mean, I'm all for it. because honestly, that's how ridiculous this is. And I hope they say, you know what, my Satanism is the correct way, because that is a religion. I guess they would have every right to do that, according to you. So I hope they do. I hope they do. Anyways, that was me being a douchebag to Donald Trump. On with the show. I need a little sip of tea that my partner, Corey, made for me, my homosexual partner. Throat coat tea. Oh, it is so delicious. Well, let's do a little bit of self-promotion. Self-promotion, self-promotion. Look at all the cool stuff that I'm doing. Yeah. Okay, so I don't have a lot of self-promotion today, but I will say that my acoustic album is officially done. It's not out yet, but you can still go to danielcartier.com and order an advance copy. And if you do, you will get a download of it right now. And it sounds amazing. There's 11 beautiful songs on it. You will also get this bonus collection of songs, which I'm assembling. And it's a bunch of live recordings I've done. I will say on the album, there's a really beautiful cover of Are You Lonely Tonight, which Elvis made popular. There's a really cool cover of Let Me Call You Sweetheart, and the old-timey song. And there's a bunch of just really beautiful songs. Also, if you want to go to my Patreon page and become a member on Patreon, I'm going to have a download of the album on Patreon as well. So you just go to Patreon/Daniel Cartier. You can also get a download of the album there. I'm also developing a website for this podcast. It's taken me a little while to get together. So for now, you can still go to danielcartier.com/podcast. And while you're there, check out the There Is No God and We're All Gonna Die t-shirt and all my art, which benefits animal rescue. Because as you know, I love animals and I love donating to animal rescues. And it also helps me take care of my own pack of handicapped dogs that me and Corey care for. All the rest of the money goes towards their vet bills, which are very extensive. So, all right, that's enough self-promotion out of me. Let's listen to some voicemails. Let's listen to some voicemails. Voicemails. Yeah. All right. Let's see who has called and what they want me to talk about. I love that people leave these messages. It's so exciting for me. So let's see. All right, here we go.
Hi Daniel, it's Ian from London, UK again. Got another question for you. If you could do a duet with anyone, living or dead, who would it be? Choose one male, one female. Love to hear your answer.
Ah, oh, that is Ian calling from London again. This is his second call. An international man of mystery with a sexy British accent. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for calling. It's so nice to hear your voice. Oh boy, if I could do a duet with a woman and then also if I could do a duet with a man. These are great questions. God, there's so many to choose from. Okay, I'm going to do the woman first. You know, I gotta say, I have a lot of favorite female singers, don't get me wrong. I love Kate Bush. I love Debbie Harry. I actually have sang with Debbie Harry before. We did a duet together in New York. That was very exciting, but that's another story for another day. I love Patti Smith. I love, God, there's just too many to list. Cyndi Lauper. But I think who I would want to do a duet with, as cliche as it is, I would love to do a duet with Dolly Parton because I think our voices would sound really good together. She seems really cool. And also, I just really want to meet her. She's one of my heroes, living here in Tennessee, seeing all the good work that she does, donating so many books to children. And she has this bald eagle sanctuary where she rescues bald eagles. And she puts so much money into the community. And she just seems like a genuinely lovely, sunny, upbeat, positive person. And so, yeah, I think I would love to record a song with Dolly Parton. I don't know what we would record, but it would be pretty cool. Who knows? Maybe someday, it would happen. I don't know, but it's a long shot, I know, because she's a huge superstar. But for male, for somebody who's a man, who would I want to do a duet with for a guy? God, that is a good question too. I've actually had the pleasure of singing with a lot of cool guys. I actually jammed with Daryl Hall once. I've certainly, spent a bunch of time with Elton John in the past when I had my record deal, although we never sang together. Um, oh, but who? I don't know. This is kind of weird, and he's dead, so I would not be able to do a song with him now. But I always wanted to work with Rick Ocasek from the Cars because they're one of my favorite bands. I grew up listening to the Cars. They were a huge influence on me. Rick Ocasek kind of changed the way I view music. He was at the forefront of taking classic rock and roll, but mixing different sounds with it, like new wave and electronic sounds. And it really influenced the way I view music, because nowadays I will still go and I will approach songs, but even if it's a folk song, that doesn't really mean anything to me. Like, I have no problem putting offbeat sounds in or experimenting with sounds. And I absolutely, that started with my love of new wave, which did that quite a bit, and post-punk, but then also with bands like the Cars. The Cars were pretty much my first favorite band, and one of the reasons why was because they really took a lot of chances with their production. It was still pop, pop and rock. It had this rock and very, really great songwriting. So yeah, I think if I could have collaborated with Rick Ocasek from the Cars, that would have been awesome. But anyways, I can still enjoy his music. So anyways, let's see. What else?
Hey, sweetie. It's your Corey. I'm calling from the front porch. You'll have to explain this to your listeners, but every night when you and I are walking our 3 handicapped dogs through the quiet streets of our town, we love playing this game that we've come up with. And it's pretty much a variation on Fuck, Marry, Kill, but we call it the usual 3 plus, in which we take 4 celebrities and we imagine ourselves in these different scenarios with them. One person you get to have sex with, one person you get to live with, one person you're going to push off a cliff, and then the 4th person you're going to do some sort of weird activity with, like opening up a bed and breakfast in Vermont or something like that. So we spend a lot of time imagining ourselves in these weird relationships with celebrities and public figures. I just finished listening to the musician Budgie's memoir about his time with Susie and the Banshees. And since they're my favorite band, it was a peek behind the curtain that I gotta say was a little disheartening. It was a little sad to kind of hear my idols revealing their human sides. And it got me thinking, we spend so much time talking about these public figures and talking about what we would do if we got a chance to meet them and whatnot, aside from pushing them off a cliff. How do you feel about meeting your idols? Do you really feel good about it? It's something to ponder. All right. I love you.
Oh, that was my Corey calling. My Corey called into the show. My Corey called into the show. My better half, my gay lover, called into the show. Well, fuck, I actually thought you were going to ask me a 3 plus 1. Like, who would you rather fuck, live with, or kill, or open up a bed and breakfast in Vermont? I actually thought you were going to give me 4 celebrities and I was going to have to do it on my podcast, but instead you're asking me how I feel about meeting my idols. I guess it depends. I mean, I actually have met some of my idols. I mean, like, as you know, I grew up listening to Elton John, and then I got to work with Elton John when he signed me to his record label, and that was exciting. I was bummed out that the record deal didn't pan out the way I wanted it to. And I was kind of hurt that when it did not pan out, he never even had like an assistant write me I'm sorry it didn't work out note or something. So that kind of hurt, but I still am a huge Elton John fan. I mean, that's another topic for another day. I was going to get into my whole record deal and the saga of that. And that's not what your question was about. No, meeting my idols. It can be very disappointing. I actually have met some people that I was like, ooh, I won't name names, but I had written this really cool blog post once about all the celebrities I had waited on, because I waited tables for years. Actually, after I lost my record deal with Elton John, I ended up penniless and like I needed to make ends meet. And so I moved out to Los Angeles and found myself waiting tables on Sunset Strip. And I ended up waiting on a lot of celebrities, like people that I had known from movies and music and film and TV and a lot of reality show TV stars and models. And so I wrote this blog post called Celebrities I'd Waited On. And honestly, it was eye-opening. It was weird which celebrities were really gracious and nice to the waitstaff and which celebrities were kind of nightmares. I was very surprised. And I did say that I would not name names, but I will say that in the blog post about waiting on celebrities, I did have the loveliest moment with Robert Downey Jr., who is beautiful in person. And I just have to say it because I think it speaks volumes about his character. Anyway, so I was slammed. I was in the weeds. I was waiting tables on Sunset Strip. It was, people everywhere. And I was running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And then Robert Downey Jr. came in with a bunch of people and they sat at a table and they all ate. And then they all got up and left. And his friends actually paid and they tipped me. And it was fine. And I thought, well, that was cool. And then about 10 minutes later, Robert Downey Jr. comes back into the restaurant and finds me and gives me another $20 bill. And he said, I just wanted to make sure that they tipped you enough. And he handed me the $20 bill. And so there was this moment where we were like face to face. He was just like a foot away from me. And y'all, he has the most beautiful eyes. And I just kind of fell in love for a second. And then he was gone. And I know he has a wife and kids and everything. So it's not like I became this crazy stalker. But I will say that I kind of melted a little bit. And so that was a nice memory. So he's not an idol. It's not like I sit around thinking about Robert Downey Jr., but it is a nice moment with a celebrity that surprised me. I guess I'll end by saying that it really depends on how big of an idol the person is. I know I just mentioned working with Dolly Parton in the last question. So yeah, it would suck if when I met her, she wasn't the sunny person that I thought she was. Luckily, all reports that I've heard are that she truly is a lovely person. So hopefully if I ever do get to meet her, because she is kind of like an idol of mine, it will be a lovely experience. I have a feeling it would be. So I don't know. I think it really depends on how big of an idol the person is. The bigger the idol, the bigger the risk that will be let down. So I don't know. Life is a risk. Life is a risk. Anyways, I love you, honey. Thanks for that question. Let's see. What else?
Hey, Daniel. I'm really loving the podcast and how you manage to be loving towards religious people. I'm really, really struggling with that. I was just wondering if you had any suggestions. Okay, thanks.
Oh my God. She just like, okay, thanks. Who was that? That was, whoa, Anna. Anna, thanks for calling in. Well, that's a great question. How do I manage to be loving towards religious people? And you are struggling with that, it sounds like. I think it just comes down to we have to take these situations one day at a time and one person at a time. I don't think it would be realistic for somebody who's been struggling with this. I'm not sure what your situation is, but, I know for me, there was a lot of people in my life who were religious and they were lovely people. But then being a gay person over the years, having gone through being a gay teenager in the 80s and literally hearing people call gay people perverts and sinners and comparing us to child molesters and people who sleep with animals, that really affected me. And then being gay bashed when I was 19 and pretty much knowing that some really sick religious people preaching from pulpits had a hand to play in that because it was kind of like making that hatred okay, And then seeing people laugh about my friends dying of AIDS and, seeing people like Jesse Helms and Pat Buchanan say horrible things when my community was dying certainly colored the way I viewed religious people like Anita Bryant and homophobic people like that. So I guess, I would not expect you, if you have faced similar things in your life, I wouldn't expect you to just go and start being loving towards all the religious people, especially if they're being hateful towards you. I think self-care is very important. So when I say that I love everybody, it's not like I'm going out and making friendship bracelets for everybody or like, let's all go to the mall and get frappuccinos. Like, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that I still try to take everybody, and even if I'm not actively engaging with them, I try to just mentally send them some love and realize that at one point they were a child who did not have fucked up beliefs. Those fucked up beliefs were given to them by somebody else who also had fucked up beliefs that were given to them. And I try to remind myself of that. It's not easy to do. It's very easy to forget sometimes when we're angry and we're reacting to people. You know, I think it's the difference between like, am I reacting to people or am I responding to them? And there is a difference. So I guess my advice is to not beat yourself up for struggling with this, because I think it makes perfect sense. But to maybe look around at all the people you know and try to pinpoint who the religious people are who share your values. Because maybe you don't believe in the things they believe in, but like I was saying earlier in the podcast, do they have the same values as you? For instance, if you're LGBTQIA, are they a religious person who also supports gay people or trans people? Are they a religious person who supports a woman's right to choose, if that's something that's important to you? If you are somebody who is horrified at the Trump administration and like all the Christian nationalists, do you know other religious people who are equally horrified by Trump and all the Christian nationalists? Because as I stated earlier, there are Christians who are horrified at Christian nationalists. So I would say start with them. See if there's anybody in your circle of friends that shares your values. Even if they don't share your beliefs. I'm not sure if you're an atheist or not. I'm assuming you are from the tone of your question. So I would just look at your circle of friends and see if there's some like-minded people who happen to be quote unquote people of faith. But also look around and see if there's some fellow atheists in your tribe, because I think it's also important for you to have people who actually do have your beliefs, because that's a big self-care thing. I know for me, I've a lot of times felt like I was the only atheist in the room. So it's very important for me to know that there's some other people who view the way I think as being normal. So yeah, just take it one person at a time. And if you get a bad sense from somebody that they are religious, but not religious in a good way, but in a very hurtful way, you don't have to go and be friends with them. You can just maybe close your eyes and be grateful that you don't have those beliefs. But then also, you can show them in your mind. I mean, you don't have to outwardly show them this, but you can, in your mind, send some empathy to them, because they really have been given shitty information. They've been given these toxic beliefs by other people, whether it's people they were raised by or even by people who run billion-dollar news organizations like Fox News. I do believe there's been a brainwashing that's happened here in America, and it's been going on for decades. And so I think some people are very much unwitting casualties of it, like their brains are. So we can send them empathy even if we're not friends with them. So I don't know if that helped, but hopefully it gave you some ideas. And I am sending you a ton of love. All right. Let's see. What else? Who else called me? Who else called me? Let's see.
Hello, Daniel. How you doing? This is Greg Zukowski calling from Youngstown, Ohio, again. And I just wanted to, first of all, just let you know that I do care about you and about this podcast. I'm finding it very insightful and interesting and a lot of fun. So keep it up, and I look forward to many more to come. And I love that you had said that you pray to the moment that you're in.
Yep.
And I find in my spiritual journey that being in the present moment, the here and now, is my spiritual path, and breathing in the now here. And when you put the words together, now and here, you get nowhere, which I think is interesting.
It is.
But really, for my question, I was wondering about how gay people and probably atheists get hated, get so much hate from people that are into the Bible, and they read the Bible and they read things that have been reinterpreted over and over again. And I just saw a podcast about, it's called 1946, and it's a documentary about the misinterpretation of the Bible. And the first time, 1946 was the first time homosexual was used in the Bible. So how do you deal with people that are anti-gay and seem very hateful in their behaviors towards, let's say, gay people? It just really bugs me that they use the Bible as a credible source for their hatred, when we all know that it was written in Hebrew and Greek and reinterpreted so much that it's just not fair and it's not loving, which I always thought Christianity was all about love and loving your neighbor as yourself. I think was the most important thing I took from the Bible. But there's many things in there that are not true, and just want to know your thoughts about that. All right. Have a great day.
Oh, Greg, this is such a great question, and it's so on topic for everything I was talking about earlier. Yeah, there are people who take the Bible and they've really misconstrued a lot of stuff about it. Yeah, there's a lot of fucked up stuff in the Bible. Let's just be honest. I mean, there's like daughters being sold into slavery. There's like people being stoned to death. I mean, there's all sorts of craziness, like talking snakes. There's also a lot of beautiful passages in the Bible. I will give it that. There's a lot of beautiful concepts about loving your neighbor. And I will say that it's very important, as I discovered this weekend, that not all people who read the Bible are hateful. That there are many people who read the Bible and love a lot of things about the Bible who are liberal, they're progressive, they love gay people. They have pretty much all the same values we have. And that was very refreshing to be reminded of that this weekend. I mean, I'm always reminded of that when I talk to my friend Matt, who reads the Bible every day from what I gather, and he is a very progressive liberal. So I think it's important to remind ourselves that for all the haters who read the Bible, there's a lot of people who their hearts are that Christian love you were talking about. So how I deal with the people who are taking this Bible and misinterpreting it and using it as this weapon to take away people's rights and to bully people, I deal with them the same way I deal with bullies, because that's what they are. They're bullies. They are people who are taking this book and they're using it as a baseball bat to beat up people and pulverize people's rights and pulverize people's lives and, ruin people's lives. Because that's what a lot of this legislation that they try to pass using the Bible as an excuse, that's what it does. It ruins people's lives. It's no different than a schoolyard bully. I'll use my gayness as an example. My gayness does not affect anybody unless I come up to you and try to be gay with you and you didn't want me to, which I don't have any interest in doing because I'm not a crazy person. But unless I'm doing that, my gayness has nothing to do with anybody else. I just happen to like dudes. I like penises, whatever. I'm not going to apologize for it. I like dudes. But, yeah, it's not going to affect anybody's life. Who cares? Who gives a flying fuck? Well, obviously they do, because they spend a lot of time thinking about it, and they spend a lot of time trying to pass laws to take away my rights because of the Bible said this or the Bible said that. Yeah, it's so fucked up. It is fucked up on so many levels, and they're just being bullies. So I deal with them the same way I deal with any bully. I just say, fuck you, and fuck your interpretation of the Bible, because it's bullshit. It is just fucking bullshit. And I know it's bullshit because I know people who read the Bible and they don't treat it that way. They treat it as a source of love and compassion and empathy for their fellow human beings. And that is the way any religious text, I don't care what it is, should be treated. Whether it's the Quran or the Bible or I don't know all the names of the religious texts because honestly, there's a lot of them. But at their heart, I've always thought that it was how to coexist with your fellow man. So yeah, that's how I deal with them. I just continue to fight back. I tell them to fuck off and I continue to fight back. And I do my podcast and I let them know what I think. I let them know what I think when they say it's okay to go into their federal workplace and start trying to save souls and tell their coworkers that, their faith is wrong, I speak up about it. And I love that you're calling into the podcast because you're speaking up about it. It's awesome. I think that the more community we can build with one another, where we can share our views, whether it's people calling into my silly podcast or me pontificating here or us going to a protest or teaming up with people who are religious, but they actually have good values like we do. I mean, I think it's all important. I think that to cast a wide net, it needs to be interwoven. We need to work together. I used this analogy this weekend, actually, that there was a difference between working alone or working together. When we work together, we have this woven net. But when we work on our own, it's just a bunch of strings. You can't catch anything. So the strings have to weave together. So like you calling in here, me answering you, us talking to other people, us going and meeting other people who think like us meeting up to have groups of friends who are like-minded and writing to our Congress people and writing to our senators and getting people to go out and vote. I mean, it's all so important. You know this because I've known you for years and I know how passionate you are as an artist and as kind of a free thinker like me. I know that I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. We have to just show up. We have to show up. And I love what you said about now and here. We're nowhere. And it's weird. We're kind of like nowhere, but we're here. So that's very cool. Anyways, I love you. And I don't know if I even answered your question, but I loved the question anyways. And I'm sure I'll be talking more about it. So thank you so much. Let's see. I think I have one more call. One more voicemail.
Hey, Daniel. This is John. We met at Nanacon, and I'm driving home right now and wanted to say I really enjoyed speaking with you and learning about your podcast and your music and your life history. I wanted to know what you would say to a theist if you could communicate one thing to them about what it means to be an atheist. Thanks, man. Enjoyed meeting you. Have a great one.
Ah, that's awesome. I actually met that guy at the conference this weekend, and I guess he left that message when he was driving back home. I can't remember where he lives, but he lives somewhere not here. A lot of people drove. I mean, people drove from Ohio and drove from Texas and drove from all over the place to come to this conference. And so I know that he had a trek back to where he was. But this awesome guy, John, jolly guy, super happy, super nice. I love talking to him. I love jolly, happy people. They just make me jolly and happy. So yeah, this guy was really cool. Thank you so much for calling, man. And yeah, it was so great meeting you at that conference. It really was. And what a great question. What would I say to a theist, which is basically somebody who believes, about being an atheist? There's a lot of things I would say, but I think the main thing I would want to impart is that my belief that there is no God and my belief that when I die, it's lights out. That's just my belief. In no way, when I say that, am I making it about anybody else. Like, I'm not saying that so that I can be mean to a religious person or make them feel stupid for believing what they believe. I have no interest in that. Life's busy enough. Like I have better things to do than make people feel stupid for what they believe. That doesn't interest me. If anything, as an atheist, I would want to let them know that, hey, yeah, I don't believe in God. I get that you do, but tell me about your pets or like, tell me about your kids or, what do you do for a job? I would actually just want to know about their life because at the end of the day, we're both just people and we're both just here on this planet for a very brief amount of time. The Earth has been around for 4.6 billion years. The dinosaurs were here for 167 million years. And humanity's been here for like nothing for like 200,000 or 300,000 years, like a drop in the bucket, like nothing. And I know I've said this on the podcast before, but I'm going to say it again because it bears repeating. If you condensed the world history, 4.6 billion years, into 24 hours, humanity would show up in the last second. Think about that. The last second. So, here we are in the last second arguing about whether there's a God or there isn't a God, and our lives are just like this blip. It's like we were never even here. We're here for such a short amount of time in the big grand scheme of things that it's like we're nothing. And I actually find a lot of comfort in that today because it means that all my problems are even smaller. I used to make my problems into these big life or death things, but the reality is 100 years from now, everything that I'm stressed about won't matter to me because I'll be dead. I would like to think that I helped pave the way for a better future for whatever is here 100 years from now. That would make me feel nice. And so I would maybe ask them about that too. Like if it was a religious person, like a theist, as you say, I would hope that they were interested in leaving a better world for future generations, like 100 years from now or 200 years from now. If mankind can even exist for another 100 years, I mean, that's debatable because of what we're doing to the planet. As I said in the last week's episode, we're not destroying the planet. The planet's going to be around long after we're gone. We're destroying it for ourselves. I mean, we are going to be making it uninhabitable for human beings if we keep up the way we're going. But that's another topic for another day. I've talked about it before. I'm sure I'll talk about it again. But anyways, I hope that answered your question. I seem to be saying that after all the questions tonight. I don't know why I'm doubting myself so much, but thank you so much for calling. I hope that we can maintain a cool long-distance atheist friendship because you were a very awesome guy and I really enjoyed meeting you. So thanks for calling. And I hope you call back and let me know how you're doing because it would be great to hear how you're doing down where you are. So yeah, you guys, I think I've finished the podcast. I think I'm done. This was a very easy episode for me to film because I had such great material to work with having gone to that convention. So awesome. Before I go, I just want to say a couple of things that I forgot to say earlier. I am desperate for people to call in and leave voicemails. Please call in and leave voicemails. Please, 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 please call in and leave voicemails. Where do you do it? You do it at speakpipe.com/there is no God and we're all gonna die. Again, speakpipe, like speak, and then pipe, like a pipe you'd hit somebody over the head with, .com/there is no God and we're all gonna, GONNA, die. And if you go there, speakpipe.com/we're all gonna die, there is no God and we're all gonna die, you can leave me a voicemail and you'll be on my podcast and you'll be a podcast superstar. So yeah, I would love to have your beautiful voice on my show and answer whatever question. Or if you want to just call up and rant about something, you don't have to have a question. You can call up and be like, this pisses me off, or that pisses me off, or you know what I think's cool? And then give me some fact about the universe. It can be whatever you want. It's your time when you call up and leave those voicemails. So I just enjoy getting them and I appreciate all of them. And as a new podcast, I'm kind of chasing people down at this point. What you heard right now, I've exhausted all my voicemails. So I need more. So please, please, please call up and leave me a voice message. Speakpipe.com/there is no God and we're all going to die. Okay, that's enough out of me. Check out all the stuff I'm doing at danielcartier.com. I will be back next week with another episode. And I friggin' love you guys. All right. Thanks, you guys. Have a lovely week. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God, there's just you and I.